The moment the players stepped into floor 2 of the tower, their faces drained of color. The dungeon was dark, oppressive, and reeked of death. Worse yet, this wasn't some ordinary dungeon. This was an ancient tomb, the resting place of one of the most ruthless killers in human history, the vampire noble Belaluchia. Even the name sent shivers down their spines. As the 200 or so new players made their way deeper into the tomb, hundreds more died, crushed by collapsing tombs, burnt by illusory fire traps, or impaled by spears that materialized out of thin air. Yet none of those deaths were accidental. Each one was a lesson, a test, a trial. And the true monster of the tomb, Belaluchia, hadn't even appeared yet. The players were being prepared for her, like lambs being led to the slaughter. Meanwhile, in the control room above the dungeon, the 6 constellations observed with amusement. The king of the battlefield chuckled. So these kids want to play a game? Let's give them a real game then. How about we throw in a few more traps? The goddess of the hunt nodded, her eyes gleaming. And let's make this dungeon a bit more, shall we say, personal. As if in response, the tomb rumbled. The walls shimmered and solidified into actual stone, complete with spikes and pits. Suddenly, a door slid open, revealing a magnificent throne room. Sitting on the throne was a woman of unparalleled beauty. Her skin was as white as snow, her eyes as red as blood, and her lips curved into a cruel smile. Welcome to my humble abode, she purred. I am Belaluchia, the vampire noble, and you are all my prey. Back in the dungeon, the players panicked. There was no way out. No matter how many times they reset the floor, the same thing happened. They were trapped inside a dungeon with one of the deadliest monsters in early game history. Unless they could defeat Belaluchia, they'd have to keep repeating this floor over and over, trapped in an endless cycle of death. That's when the first player decided to sacrifice himself. A total of 13 players volunteered, charging into the throne room to take Belaluchia on. The others watched anxiously as the battle began. The 13 players attacked with everything they had, but before any of them could land a hit, Belaluchia vanished. When she reappeared, she was behind one of the players, draining his life force with her bare hands. Within seconds, he crumpled to the ground and turned to dust. One by one, the other players met the same fate. None of them lasted longer than 5 minutes. And soon, only one player remained. He stood frozen with fear, unable to believe what he was witnessing. Just as Belaluchia approached him, ready to claim another victim, a calm voice echoed through the tomb. Such a boring way to die, don't you think? Everyone looked towards the source of the voice and gasped. It was him, the player who had cleared floor 1, Jinhyuk. He strolled into the throne room, completely unfazed by the terrifying scene before him. In fact, he seemed almost bored. As Belaluchia fixed her gaze on him, a dangerous glint appeared in her eyes. You again, she hissed. You ruined my fun last time, and now you dare intrude again. You talk too much, Jinhyuk replied nonchalantly. With that, Belaluchia lunged at him, moving like a blur. But Jinhyuk was ready for her. His eyes flashed with a golden light as he activated Penetration Eye, instantly seeing through Belaluchia's defenses. He easily dodged her attack and threw a silver dagger at her. It was a move that seemed almost pre-programmed. Jinhyuk's every action was perfectly timed, perfectly executed. To Belaluchia, it was as if he had anticipated her every move. And in a sense, he had. Because unlike every player before him, Jinhyuk knew exactly how to defeat Belaluchia. All he had to do was guide her into her own traps. As the battle raged on, more and more players joined Jinhyuk, drawn to his effortless skill and confidence. Together, they lured Belaluchia deeper and deeper into the tomb, past the illusory flames, over the spike pits, until finally, she reached the very end. The final room was circular, with a single pedestal in the center. and as Belaluchia approached it, the ground beneath her feet crumbled, dropping her into a pit of spikes. With a scream, she tried to stop the bleeding, but it was no use. Her life force was rapidly draining away. She looked up at Jinhyuk, her eyes filled with hatred and fear. And as the last of her strength ebbed away, she whispered, "You may have won this battle, King Jinhyuk, but the war is far from over." But before she could finish her sentence, her body turned to dust, leaving Jinhyuk and the others with a single, ominous message. This is not the end. Jinhyuk ignored her final threat and opened the boss reward chest. Inside was a rare item, a cloak that boosted both agility and drained the life force of nearby enemies. Not bad, he thought. He slipped the cloak on, instantly feeling its power surge through him. Then he turned to leave the tomb, only to be stopped by a new notification. You have cleared floor 2 of the tower. Unique title unlocked. Vampire Slayer. A mysterious being is watching you. Jinhyuk paused, his eyes narrowing slightly. Finally, he had earned the attention of the constellations. But why? What did they want? He had no idea, but he knew one thing. He wouldn't find out until he reached the next floor. So with that, he turned and strode away, leaving the surprised players and the empty tomb behind him. The moment he stepped onto the 3rd floor, though, his face grew serious. He could feel the eyes of the constellations upon him, watching his every move, waiting for him to make a mistake. But Jinhyuk wasn't about to give them the satisfaction. He had cleared the 2nd floor, and now he was ready for the 3rd.